immigration is blamed categorically for safety, but it's nuanced. It's how is the immigration administered? Okay, in Canada, the government basically tells us who comes in. They can claim refugee status. They can apply as a foreign student. Companies can apply for the temporary foreign worker program. Yes, but it's kind of, in a way, it's a lot of the companies who are using the temporary foreign worker program. It's like it's ripe with fraud. Mm-hmm. It's ripe with fraud, right? Is there opportunities for skilled workers to come in? There is. It's challenging too to get a skilled worker. I work with medical clinics, and good luck getting a foreign doctor to come in. It's like you want to bring in a couple million people, but then make the rules really restrictive for the physicians that they're going to need to see. It's like, unless we were dramatically increasing the capacity of the Canadian medical schools, like how is that supposed to work, right? That's not going to work at all. But okay, so the UAE has a much higher rate of immigration than Canada. It's like 90% of the people in the UAE are immigrants. 90%. We're not talking 9%. Here we're worried if we bring in 5% in the new population. I mean, 90% of the people, it's almost unusual where you go out someday and meet an actual local Emirati. It's like everyone's an immigrant, right? And they're not bringing them from different countries that we're bringing them. You have lots of people from India. You have lots of people from the Philippines. You have lots of people from Africa, okay? You have lots of people from other Middle Eastern countries, like lots, okay? But it's the safest place in the world. It's like, why? What is the mechanism for immigration in the UAE? Is the businesses decide. The government has basically said, why should I try to establish who's a good candidate for immigration? If you want to come here and pay money to set up a business, you're probably not going to be, with no expectation. We're not giving you any money if it doesn't work out, right? We're not going to put up with any bullshit and panhandling. Unless you're just like, why would that person? I've set up a business in the UAE. I'm not going to go there and start causing chaos. It's like there's probably a 0.0% chance of me getting arrested while I'm in the UAE, right? And then I'm going to bring in my workers there. I have to pay money to get them a visa. I don't have to go in some roundabout way, in some underhanded labor market impact assessment. I pay a fair fee, and I bring in who I think is going to be productive. And the minute they are not productive, they don't go on the government system. They go home. They go home. That's just how it is. They go home. And so I bet you there's a 0.0% chance that the accountants that I'm going to bring into the UAE are going to commit any crimes. It's like the government has made money off of the immigration system. So not only did you bring in high quality people, it's not the countries. There's a lot of low quality people in Canada. It's like, if we could export, all the criminals from our prison system to a specific country, that might be helpful for, morally correct. I don't know, but it might be helpful for our scores on some of these lists, right? But there's a lot of, in any country, even the best countries in the world, there's people who you don't want coming to your country. And then there's people in the poorest countries in the world who are the leaders, right? And just think about the mindset of someone who goes. It's like, the person who goes to a different country with no job available to them probably is not in the top echelon of that country. Like they're just not, right? The person, they're just like, I got nothing else better going on. Maybe it gets better there. And I heard they might give me some free stuff.
Free stuff.
Like that's
oh, yeah.
like
people love free stuff.
And so people think is it immigration? Everyone's like, stop immigration. It's like, okay, like you want to stop immigration, but you better be thinking about stopping CPP at the same time too, because that system's going to become insolvent if you
the
don't
Canada
have
Ponzi plan.
If you don't have new workers enter into that system, okay, it only works because you need more new people to come into it. We've broken down went through the economics of that before, right? And so, I don't think people have thought it through. It's just like, what's the quality? It's like the Canadian government should be using the immigration system as a profit center and letting the businesses determine who are the productive people to bring into the economy. it works. And so people want to say it's like immigration leads to crime. It's like, no, bad immigration leads to crime. The country with the biggest amount of immigrants in the entire world. I bet you the UAE has the highest immigrant population in the entire world, and it is the safest country in the world. So it just kind of obliterates everyone's perception on immigration. And it's like if you let the bottom tier from any country come in, if we let the worst Americans come to Canada, we would become less safe. Right?
Yeah.
That's just, you let the worst people from the UK come to Canada, we would become less safe. That's just how it is, right? But businesses, I'm not going to go and pay a sizable fee to get a work visa for an employee who I think might cause problems. Of course I've vetted them. This is kind of how this thing works, right? And so I think that's a very important part of it to people to grasp is like immigration is, unless people start magically having more babies tomorrow, you're going to have to deal with immigration. So you might want to get better at it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think most people can agree. There's not a problem with the immigration. It's the quality of the candidates.
Yeah.
And productivity.
And I want to go through one last one, and
Sure.
This is the Philippines. I spend a lot of time out there because we have our office out there. It's like that's how we we have our head office in Edmonton, and we have our satellite office in Vancouver, and then we have our back office in the Philippines. I recruit people from the Philippines and bring them to the UAE. Like that's the process. Like UAE is not a great place to recruit people because the people who are there generally have money. So you got to find good people from other countries, pay your fee, get them there, and it's a win-win for everybody because they get access to a tier 1 country. But this is and so I'm using the Philippines, but you could probably use a lot of let's call it the third world countries, right? And I would say it's like there's a whole pile of countries around the world have a GDP per capita less than 10,000 a person. Okay, put them in one list. It's like the Philippines is like 5,000 per person. It's like, where are we? It's like they're the 76th best country in the world. Okay, the 76th. Okay, so it's not Sri Lanka or Bangladesh.
It's not far off.
Yeah, and there's a whole bunch of countries. It's like call it like the DRC or something like that. So they're not even going to rank on the list. How do you separate how do you separate one war-torn country from another? Like it's like bad. At some point, bad is just bad, and trying to rank them is kind of silly, right? Okay, so they're 76. Their purchasing power is 75th. Okay, I mean that's the main thing. It's like the people there. It's like they're kind of economic prisoners. It's like their access to any decent, their wages are low. Their access to any decent assets are low. Okay, you're buying assets that are denominated in Philippine pesos. Like that's the challenge, right? Safety, the same. Let's call it the same. I mean, they're 4 points better. It's like it's the same. It's like, can I tell you that? Yeah, it's the same. I've been there. It's like there's places I'm not going to walk around in the Philippines, and there's places I'm not going to walk around here. It's like it's the same. It's like I would say like by eye, the petty crime is higher. The violent crime might be lower. That might be a real thing. You don't have the same especially in the nicer areas, you just don't have like flagrant drug use everywhere. Like that is policed a little better.